All right, so question 4 has a graph saying the graph shows how the force acting on a body changes with time. So I have a force time graph here, and we can see to say the force is decreasing constantly from 10 newtons to 0 newtons in a time frame of 40 seconds. So the body has a mass of 0.25 kilograms and it's initially at rest. What is the speed of the body after 40 seconds, assuming no other forces are acting on it? So here, I would rather we use the idea of momentum again, because we know to say momentum of this object, P, is equal to mass multiplied by the velocity. And we can also bring in the concept of impulse. We know to say impulse is equal to what? Impulse is equal to the change in momentum. And since the mass is remaining constant, this is one object, we can say impulse is equal to what? Is equal to mass multiplied by what? Multiplied by the change in velocity. So only velocity will be changing, but the mass is remaining the same. And if the there's change in velocity only, that means impulse is equal to what? Impulse is equal to mass multiplied by what? V final velocity minus initial velocity, V initial. But remember one thing, I said this object was what? Was initially at rest, which means V initial is equal to what? It's equal to 0. So we can also directly calculate the impulse. Why? It's because we've been given a graph which is a force time graph. And you know to say impulse is the force per unit time on an object. So which means the area under this graph that we've been given is actually equal to the impulse on this object. So this is the force from 10 here. It has the graph has a height of 10 and the a length of 40 there. So what are we going to do? We're supposed to find the area under this graph. And if we find this area, it is equal to what? It is equal to the impulse, which can be represented by J or I. It's one and the same thing. So let's find the impulse first. Let's go to our board. So say the area under the graph, that is a triangle, which means the area is equal to what? It is equal to half B plus H, or I mean BH, half BH, or some will say L, I don't know, but that is breadth. I consider the one which is down as the base. Okay, so area is equal to what? It's equal to half multiplied by the base as 40. The height is 10. This will be equal to what? This will be equal to 20 multiplied by 10, giving us 200. And 200, since this is impulse, impulse is force per unit time. That means we have NS, Newton second. Force multiplied by the time, we have 200 Newton second, like that. Did I just say per unit time? It's not per, because per will mean you are supposed to divide. So it's not per unit time, but it's Newton second, because we are multiplying like that. Okay, so now that we found the impulse, we know to say impulse is equal to what? Impulse is equal to M V final minus V initial, V0. And this object was initially at rest, so which means we have our 200 here being equal to what? The mass, which is 0.25. Then I open my bracket, I have V final minus 0, which is the same as 200 being equal to 0.25 multiplied by V final there, like that. So I'm dividing both sides by 0.25, here this side by 0.25. This will cancel out and I'll get my V final being equal to what? Being equal to 800 meters per second, like that. So That means the speed of this object after 40 seconds is actually 800 meters per second. And that's all with question 4. And that's also the end of the tutorial sheet. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, stay blessed.